To artificially manufacture a cold breeze, humanity has systematically brutalized and broken nature.
We violently rip apart the deepest layers of the Earth to combust fossil fuels. We force massive electrical currents through millions of miles of tightly wound copper wiring. We deploy giant compressors to ruthlessly crush gas molecules until they bleed thermal energy. This is not elegant intelligence. It is desperate, brute force, physical coercion of the environment. We vomit billions of tons of toxic chemical waste back into our already choking sky. Yet, standing in the merciless center of Persia's ancient, blistering Dasht-e-Kavir desert, a colossal architectural monolith of mud continues to stand completely tall against the heat.
It stands there as a direct, humiliating mockery of modern 21st century material science. It requires 0 kilowatts of grid power to function day or night. It has absolutely no mechanical compressors, artificial refrigerants, or any moving parts inside.
It was built using raw sand, clay, and the albumin of ordinary egg whites.
Yet, 400 years before Christ, this structure could freeze the desert completely solid. Welcome to the Yakhchal, where ancient alchemy transmuted scorching solar wind into eternal blocks of ice. In 2018, a highly funded thermodynamic research consortium initiated a highly classified project. Their primary objective was to reverse engineer and replicate this ancient zero-energy mechanism.
Our supercomputers simulated every aerodynamic angle, yet we are missing the crucial link.
The material and the geometry must align perfectly, or the simulation fails. They perfectly reconstructed the egg-shaped dome down to the micrometer using aerospace titanium. The exterior shell was coated in expensive aerogel supermaterials to mimic ancient sarouge. Sarouge was a compound of clay, ash, goat hair, and egg whites. They pumped thousands of gallons of water into aqueducts, waiting for nightfall radiation. They expected the cold vacuum of space to suck out the water's heat. But when the sun rose, all they produced was a warm, stagnant puddle.
The titanium dome is absorbing the solar radiation instead of purging the heat.
Their hyper-advanced dome was entirely incapable of passively purging its internal heat load.
Desperate, they plunged into the next loop: aerodynamics and the Venturi effect. The true beating heart of the Yakhchal resides within its Badgir towers.
When hot desert wind is channeled through tapered slits, air pressure drops catastrophically. This hyper-accelerated airstream is submerged into the freezing subterranean qanats. It expels all lingering pockets of hot air out through the dome's apex ventilation hole. The engineering team used powerful industrial jet fans to force winds into carbon fiber towers. Their supercomputers screamed as they calculated billions of complex fluid equations per second.
Increase the flow velocity. We must force the system to reach the freezing point. But raw nature brutally slapped the face of modern high-tech science once again.
The forced air failed to ever reach the freezing point to sustain ice. The high pressure forced by turbine engines generated a catastrophic flow turbulence.
The friction of billions of colliding air molecules is generating internal heat.
Their attempt to use mechanical engine violence backfired with devastating thermodynamic consequences.
It is as if the classical laws of physics are actively resisting us.
They suddenly realized a horrifying truth. The Yakhchal behaves like a biological organism.
Every attempt to replicate it with advanced synthetics failed, because our materials are too perfect.
A rigid titanium framework inherently lacks the biological capability to breathe. The ancient sarouge mortar actually knows exactly how to sweat. It sacrifices its own internal moisture to dynamically generate billions of cooling points, fiercely protecting the eternal ice core deep within the scorching desert.
We spent millions only to realize we are hostages of our own scientific impotence.
The moment we attempt to isolate temperature, the Yakhchal immediately refuses to function. The absolute zenith of scientific despair came when final analyses of core ruins arrived.
Data transmitted directly from the Persian desert ruins shocked the entire research team. We had to mobilize our most powerful quantum systems for one final simulation.
They sought to recreate the microscopic molecular structure of the ancient sarouge mortar. Trapped water films within the clay crevices had successfully bent the rules of fluid friction. It utilized a deeply anomalous thermodynamic mechanism never documented in human history.
It is hidden in something much more terrifying.
It lies hidden within the absolute wisdom of the faceless crowd.
A completely decentralized, lifeless, ruthless, and magnificent biological network.
How did ancient Persian bricklayers, living in absolute poverty, draft this? They possessed zero understanding of advanced thermodynamic differential equations. Yet their creation effortlessly outsmarts the elite supercomputers of modern civilization. The chilling reality is that there was no single genius master architect. Any desperate attempt to hunt for a master designer is a ridiculous delusion. This cooling monolith was not birthed from a single centralized human brain. It was evolved through thousands of years of fatal, brutal errors, mass death, and the unforgiving, ruthless natural selection of the scorching desert. Consider how millions of blind termites cooperatively construct their towering mud hives. They achieve a mathematically perfect thermodynamic ventilation system without any blueprints. Every single Persian laborer acted merely as a microscopic survival node, executing a silent, organic algorithm within nature's colossal decentralized network. Primitive instinct and repetitive physical labor successfully resonated into a superintelligence. They did not comprehend why their ancient secret compound actually functioned. They only knew that a single miscalculation meant their absolute demise.
A minor mistake in their formula would exhaust their remaining water supply tomorrow.
Uncompromising pressure of survival forced physical matter to solve the ultimate equation.
This process entirely bypassed the fragile, conscious control of human intellect. Do you see the surreal paradox unfolding right before your eyes? Under modern physics, thermal energy cannot spontaneously move from cold to hot. That is the absolute, inviolable boundary of the second law. Yet this ancient structure plays a reverse chess match against entropy itself. That colossal southern shading wall was not built just to block sunlight. Its geometry is carved specifically to distort the incoming intense solar radiation. It artificially generates an extreme low-pressure microclimate at the tower's base. The scorching wind is deceived, transforming the structure into a passive vacuum. Microscopic crevices inside the mud operate as billions of directional valves, automatically locking down gas molecules, sustaining a profound, absolute thermal silence. The ultimate climax of this ancient thermodynamic engine now begins. Our modern science desperately seeks to force nature beneath central control.
But this structure teaches us that supremacy lies in total surrender.
Every grain of sand and strand of hair acts as a microprocessor, seamlessly linked together within a massive, decentralized planetary thermal engine. Night sky radiation begins to trigger billions of these organic microchips.
Thermal energy is gracefully invited to escape directly into deep space. The water does not freeze because it is actively, mechanically cooled. It freezes because its thermal payload is stripped by the cosmos.
Channeled outward through a colossal, passive thermal telescope made of mud. This decentralized intelligent machine possesses the autonomous capability to self-heal. Latent moisture from the deep ice core migrates to those fissures, automatically regenerating its thermal insulation membrane without a single line of code. This is why elite modern engineers failed so catastrophically here.
They tried to force a lifeless, synthetic machine into the desert.
While the ancient Persians simply planted a seed to grow an organism. When millions of lifeless variables align, they awaken as a superintelligence,
forever defeating the inevitable, chaotic degradation of thermal entropy.
Transmuting a valley of absolute death into a core of absolute zero.
But this primitive termite mound was only the first layer. It has successfully locked its terrifying secrets beneath the burning sand.
On the opposite side of the globe, a different mystery unfolds.
The Pentagon is drowning in absolute despair over a literal barcode.
Who was this massive engineering blueprint actually meant for?
These lines are not primitive art. They are precise geodetic algorithms, executed on a brutally massive scale by ancient, primitive cultures.
Carved directly into the Earth's crust, without a single trace of flight. While the ancient Persians simply planted a seed to grow an organism. Click the screen now to confront the next impossible boundary.